Good morning, January 27th. I bless everything and know that all good will multiply in my experience. From the Bible, the book of James, chapter 1, verse 25. But whosoever looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, they being not a forgetful bearer, but a bearer of the work, this one shall be blessed in their deed. And from the Mahayana, it, God, has not created in the past, nor is it to be annihilated in the future. It is eternal, permanent, absolute, and from all eternity, it sufficiently embraces in its essence all possible merits. And from Kwanzaa, that itself on which all things depend, and from which every transformation arises. So our reading this morning begins. James tells us that we should look to the perfect law of liberty, follow its precepts, and then we shall be blessed in our deeds. This means to keep the eye single or centered on the presence, the power, and the responsiveness of spirit. The law of God would have to be a law of liberty, since bondage could not come from freedom any more than death could be born of the principle of life. We often wonder why we are so limited, and too frequently project the blame for our limitations upon the universe itself. This is a psychological trick which we play in ignorance of the true facts. Limitation is not imposed upon us by the universe, but through our own ignorance. Every discovery in science tends to prove this. As Kwanzaa says, all transformation, that is, every form, arises from the invisible and takes temporary form in our experience. Fortunately, none of these forms is permanent. We should look upon them as the play of life upon itself. In our own experience, we are privileged by the creative to become co-creators in our personal affairs. As our lesson says, the divine creative spirit embraces every possible action. No greater freedom could be found nor given, and we should daily open our consciousness to the divine influx, expecting greater wisdom, more definite guidance, and more complete self-expression. And so this morning, the affirmation that we take into our time of silent contemplation and meditation is this. Today, I lift up my consciousness and receive a more abundant expression. I bless everything and know that all good will multiply in my experience. I expect the good. I live in a state of joyous anticipation as well as quiet realization. And so with this breath, I go deeper, deeper into this center of my being that is the highest consciousness. And it is there that I recognize, that I know again, God, Spirit, Buddha, Allah, the great mystery, Brahma, by whatever name I call it, it is the singular source of all creation. It is creation itself. It is the activity. It is the substance expressing itself in form. I know this one to be perfect peace, infinite abundance, intelligence. I know it to be whole within itself. Nothing missing, nothing to be added. I know it to be infinite and eternal. Having no beginning, it can have no end. And in its infinite nature, having no circumference, its very center must be everywhere present. And so there is no place, no space, no time where this one substance fails to exist and express. Being in temporary form, I know that it is expressing as me. I know that it is expressing as all form, as all life, that which appears to be living and that which appears to be something other than alive. All is this divine one, life itself, expressing itself at different levels of expression. Everything, everything in motion. So everything, some degree of aliveness is present in everything. And all is connected to this singular substance. And so in this reality, in this realization, in this unseen made seen, I speak my word, claiming and affirming that there is no restriction in abundance. There is no lack in abundance. There is no limitation in freedom. There is no hate in love. There is no darkness in light. There is no discord in harmony. And so I claim the truth of being. And I open to everything within my experience that is anything other than the truth of creation itself, to rise to my awareness, to be neutralized. to be eliminated from my experience, to set the record straight in my thoughts, in my beliefs, to open my human experience to a greater experience of the truth of my being. And as I know the truth of my expression of divinity, I know the truth of all expressions of divinity. As I open to embrace life's play of itself as me, I open to celebrate life's play upon itself as every expression. No longer the need to judge or qualify or correct, simply to embrace and celebrate the creative activity of one, of life, of love, of peace, of power, of presence. No separation. And so I celebrate. I celebrate the diversity, the multiplicity of expression. I celebrate the oneness of creation that has no element of sameness. I celebrate the differences of creation in which there is no element of separation. I celebrate and speak a word of gratitude that life always responds affirmatively to life, that love always responds affirmatively to love, that just as quickly as words are formed in mind and spoken in word, they are already done. That when they come into the imagination, it is the imagination of that one mind impressed into the activity of law that makes it so. I celebrate that process, the certainty of life unfolding life exactly as life imagines it. I celebrate the grace and I celebrate the love that is never withdrawn from its creation, from its expression. And from this place of celebration, I release into that activity of law, that impersonal activity that simply unfolds life exactly, perfectly, in life's interest of life, in love's interest of love, in peace's interest of peace. And knowing it is already complete, I can release. And so I do. I let go, I let it be, and I step into an experience of what is, moment to moment, breath to breath, simply what is. And I invite you to join me as we anchor the word of the infinite spoken in physical form together by saying, Ashe, Shalom, Aho, Amen. And so it is.